You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me.
What you are about to hear is real. The prophets wrote of a time when the signs of the end would be seen. This is where Bible prophecy and current events collide. This is Unsealed.
Yes, friends, this is Unsealed, the official podcast of Wings of the Eagle. I'm Christopher Manti. Happen to be a pastor bot. Just a dude saved by grace, your brother in Jesus Christ, hopefully. If not, what are you waiting for? Today is the day of salvation. He is the truth. The truth is a man, and he is waiting for us to come home to him so we can live with him forever on this earth in immortal, holy bodies forever. Wow, how awesome. It sounds like a science fiction or something, but it's not. That's what God is and who he is and what he's written and promised and shown through various signs and proofs. That's what we believe as Christians, and that's why I'm doing this. And a lot of I know a lot of my Christian friends, or ministry folks, or folks who are in my orbit, not just in real life, but online. Okay, people who are separated by many miles throughout the nation, throughout the world. Many of them do not understand why I'm doing this concentration of this podcast right now, at least, on this UAP UFO stuff. They just don't get it. Some of them have told me, most have just don't acknowledge it. They don't share my stuff on it. They share other stuff, but not this one. Not this topic. It's why they have decided to do that, I couldn't say, or that's for another program, but the point is that it's true. Now, my rationale, like I've been hopefully been playing and laying out these past few weeks, is a concern for the body of Christ and for the church that could potentially fall away because and will fall away because of these great deceptions. Now, I'm not saying the UFO thing is a great deception per se. I'm saying it's in line with these past several years of judgments, basically, by God on the church, because we're, to see who's really his, basically, to see who's going to stick it out and who's going to be tricked and fall away. This is the same reason why I was hammering on COVID, that it was from the Lord. The same reason why, saying that we shouldn't support Donald Trump. The same reason with the QAnon. I mean, you name it. It's just like there are deceptions that are drawing the church away from Jesus, and eventually they will deny him, or we will deny him, because we've been tricked into something else, or frankly, we're just fed up now and we can't deal with this Jesus stuff anymore, and I got to move on, or I got to do something else, right? Like that. That's my great concern. And with this UFO business, it's been going on for so long, and it's been ridiculed for so long, not only by the government scientific folks, but also the religious folks, the Christians. The church itself has driven people away from the faith because we mock or belittle or ignore folks who have had these things happen to them. So I said, you know what? Enough of this stuff. Especially in the past, since July, now it's really coming out, and the floodgates are about to open up on these things. And we've got to come to a place where Christians can talk about this together and not be afraid, not be ashamed and whatnot. Okay. Hello, bondservant. Welcome, sister. By the way, if you're watching, just say hello and share this video. Can you do that for our brother? We want this to go far and wide, right? So quickly, what I wanted to do today, I'm not sure how long we're gonna last, maybe real short, but that's up to you guys. Is I'm gonna tell you for the first time. Thank you, T-Rex, a leader among women and men. She actually shared this. Okay. I'm going to share for the first time in public that I know of, my experience, my UFO story. And it happened a long time ago, and I'll get to it in real quick here. But I also want you to tell yours. If you are a Christian, bless the Lord. Colorado's checking in. Hello, friend. What's your name? Your name probably isn't Tribulation Institute on End Times Prophecy, which is cool. Any mom who names their kid that is cool in my book. But anyways, so please check in, say hello, where you're from. Awesome. Love it. But as you see at the bottom of your screen, those who are watching on video, but for those who are just listening, go to unsealedpodcast.com and you will see a new form that I just put on today. And it might change. It probably will. As needs arise, but I want this to be for you. Okay, if you don't feel comfortable telling your UFO whatever experience or story as a Christian because of whatever reason, because you don't think you're going to be accepted, because your church frowns on it, because it sounds, how could it align with the Bible or whatever, maybe you're afraid of what it could mean, maybe you feel in danger, whatever. Now there's interesting. Our friend has said on YouTube, I've had several, including last night. Okay, well, we gotta hang with me, okay? I want to get to that. If you can hang on, I want to hear what happened to you. But again, it's the stigma that's got to go away, because what we're seeing from front of government, under oath people, to whistleblowers, to former government folk, like, in other words, people who would know. Okay, I'm not trying to minimize us as individuals seeing things or experiencing things, but that's not the best way to prove something, right? But the folks who are, we're finding out are the biggest, baddest government military in the world is actually cares very, very much about what's happening, and it's real. It's real. It's not made up. Many of these things can be dismissed, but not all of them. And now we're finally getting some kind of clarity about how serious they are taking it. And maybe we can get disclosure on this. But anyways, go to unsealedpodcast.com, scroll to the bottom of the page. I'm going to show you right now what it looks like. There's the podcast, obviously. You can go there and get any episode at any time. You can load the whole thing down at the beginning when we started doing this, but there at the bottom, under the episodes, is the form. I just said, what is your UFO experience? First name is required. Your last name is not. Your email is required so we can communicate. And then the message box, which is a text box you can put in. There's some limit on how many characters, but you should be able to type for a while in there. And that's required, obviously, because that's the point of the form. If you have a file you wanted to upload, like a video, or maybe you want to record yourself instead of typing, or some kind of, evidence or whatever, I don't care. Just attach it and then click the I'm not a robot button. Make sure you're human, submit that. And then I'll get that personally, and it'll be obviously completely confidential. You don't have to tell your story to anyone, but I did want you to have a place, even if it's simplistic like this, to submit to someone, to a pastor, to a brother in Christ, someone who will not, sit in judgment or ridicule even the idea. So utilize that. Okay. That's all. All right. So let's get to what happened to me, and then we'll talk about, if you guys want to share, we can do that. And one other thing I did want to do after we're done is John Brennan. I just found a clip of him. He used to run the CIA director under 3 different presidents. And there's a clip of him a couple of years ago that's, to me, is very kind of mind-blowing. Yeah. And we'll play that. Anyway, okay, so what is my story? It's not super involved. It's not long, but here it is. long time ago in a galaxy far in this galaxy. I was around 10 years old. I say around because I'm not really sure. But it was at a time of life where when my grandparents were alive on my mom's side, um, we at certain times, because we didn't have a lot of money, sometimes we lived with grandma and grandpa, and this is in New Jersey. And sometimes we just spent summer months there as the kids on summer break from school. So I'm not sure exactly what year or what time of year it was. It could have been a summer. Point is, my brother and I have a younger brother, and we had a room upstairs in our grandparents' house that we slept in. And there were windows, two windows, one by each of the beds that looked out towards the backyard. And it was a pretty substantial yard, a little under an acre probably. And then there was a river behind the property, and then whatever. It's a lot of sky to look at. Okay. And then there were mountains behind that. Anyways, so one night, our grandmother came in and woke both of us up. And again, we were younger kids. I'm guessing myself around 10. That would make my brother around 7 or 8, depending on the month. So she woke us up and said, "Hey, look at that." And so we looked out our windows, and there was an object. It was stationary. It was lit. It wasn't a star. It wasn't a plane. I'm not sure how far away it was. I did not get the impression that it was very close. It looked like it was just hanging out in the sky. It could have been over the property. It could have been over the lake. It could have been behind that, but before the mountain. So definitely not close, but close enough to hang out and watch it. And that's all I remember. That's all I remember. And afterwards, the next day, and then sometime after that, it would come up occasionally. "Hey, do you remember when, Grandma, when you woke us up and we saw that thing?" "Oh, yeah, I remember that." But then the farther we got from it, I was like, "No, I don't remember that." Or, "What are you talking about?" Or like, it just kind of faded away. So, that was that. And it was kind of almost like a joke after that, like, "Oh, hey, do you remember that?" We told my mom, she still remembers it. So, you have a potentially, okay, it was a 3 witnessed thing. 3 people saw it. And what happened after that, I don't know. Now, it could have just ended. We went back to sleep, said, "Wow, wasn't that cool?" the next day, and went on with life. I think that's what happened. But when if you get into reading other people's accounts of these things, and again, doing my best and your best to have serious, folks who really went through something and are not trying to make a name for themselves or something like that. I'm not saying a lot of people do that, but anyway, just to sift out what's real and what's not and whatever. A lot of folks have fuzzy memories, right? Some people remember exactly, and that was that. But a lot of people are like, "I don't remember what time it was. I don't remember how long it lasted. I don't remember how I got up the next, like." So that's there for me, but that might just be a function of time. And now I'll be 48 next month, so it's been quite a while. And if you don't actively, I think part of it was honestly, growing up, I thought, UFOs were cool, and I wonder what the deal is with them and whatever. And then several years ago, I was just kind of like, you know what, enough. I don't think it's real. Like, I don't think it happened, or whatever happened that night. I'm not sure. So I kind of dismissed it mentally in my adult years, that what happened when I was a kid. So maybe that just plays into it. Like I didn't even bother to process it, and so I've forgotten. I don't know. Anyway, that's my experience. Whatever you want to call it, a sighting, a thing. And so now I want to just, and I see some people chiming in, which is awesome. I want to make this a place again for Christians to relate. If anything has ever happened with you personally, to be a place to say, you know what? Yeah, I remember, this happened. And it doesn't mean you're not a believer. It doesn't mean you should be kicked out of church. It doesn't mean it was demons. It doesn't mean that. Now that's one of these big, the big assumptions, and why I started to talk about this at all was because the church is either ignoring it completely and laughing at it, or it's demons. Like that's it. There's no possible other explanations. And if a Christian is seeing demons, what does that mean? Like there's something wrong with them, or there's an attack and there's something else going on in their life. It's not just some third party thing, right? It's actually meant for you and to make you suffer, or to trick you, or to get you away from God, versus something else. And we have to be willing, I think, to say, you know what, it could be something else. It's not a secret military U.S. government stuff, and it's not demons, potentially, right? It could be something else. Or a combination of some things. Anyway, so that's why there's my story. First time ever. Tell me yours. Use the form if you want. Again, unsealedpodcast.com. Use the form. Submit it there. That's fine. So let's see what the Lord does with this. Okay. And I see a couple of comments. Let's get to them, and then I'll play that John Brennan clip. It's only about a minute long. Don't worry. Jeff. Hey, Jeff. Thank you, brother. Okay, Jeff, you said you had something happen to you last night. What is it? Hey, Bonser. Wow, okay, yeah, Bonser's never heard that story. Alexander says, I saw a UFO in my childhood. Okay, cool. If you want to talk about it, you can. There's Jeff. 7 times. You're saying you've seen things 7 different times, and did you say you're in Colorado? Yeah. Yeah, that's not odd. Or your sister right here is from Colorado as well, bondservant. Or is there now? Witnessed by at least one other. So, that's pretty awesome. So what happened last night, Jeff? Doesn't have to be super involved or intense or anything. Just want to give you the space to do that. T-Rex says 10 years old. All my memories from then are fuzzy. Yeah, right. I mean, after we get to a certain age, it's been a long time. Anything from that point is kind of hard to remember. T-Rex says a good sighting story. 3 people were involved. Yeah. Bonsard says I was with a group in Minnesota when I was in my 20s, and they saw UFO moving about, but I saw nothing. Yeah, isn't that odd? Not to discredit my sister at all. It is odd, but because it happens. It does happen. And it's biblical. If we want to be serious, okay, it's biblical when there could be a group of people together in the same place, looking at the same location, and hearing or seeing different things. Happened more than once in the scriptures. So, right, for example, like just because this happened to you doesn't mean it wasn't real for whatever reason. They saw it and you didn't. Maybe it's not real and they all made it up and you lucked out. You didn't participate in that. Or something else, right? A big part of many of these sightings, experiences. By the way, it's not just seeing things far off in the sky, guys. If it's something closer, like a closer encounter, as they used to call it, by all means, share that too and fill out the form if you're not comfortable. I understand. Up to and including any closeness. Okay. Jeff says, I live in the San Luis Valley, where there are more sightings than Area 51. Been here 7 years. I'm not familiar. What part of the state is that? What city is that near? Area 51, of course, is a famous Nevada U.S. military facility. And I believe we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. That was part of the special access program from Tyler Rogaway. He really detailed how these secrets are kept in government and the programs and who has access to them and so forth. Area 51 was a literal example of that. And government literally had denied it existed, even though everyone knew it was a lie, until some military folks started getting sick because of what they were testing there. And then it literally got to the president's desk. He overrode the environmental laws that would have to expose what they were exposed to. So it's still not known. So they finally admitted the location's real, but they still won't admit what's tested there. Sponsor, we were behind a field behind a barn at a friend's house. I should have seen nothing. I should have seen, but nothing. It was disconcerting. Disconcerting that you felt left out, or like there was a spiritual disconcerting thing, like you felt weird, something was there. What do you mean? San Luis Valley is southwestern Colorado. Okay, there it is, southern Colorado, high mountain valley with the Sangre de Cristo mountains, blood of Christ. That's what that means. And the Great Sand Dunes. Okay, cool. I love Colorado. I haven't been to every place on earth for sure. I haven't even been to every state, but Colorado is the most beautiful place I've been. Jeff says, watching the moon last night, looking up at jets in the sky. Okay. That's fun. And then, some non-jet showed up, basically. I know I'm bouncing back and forth to different comments here, but to keep the flow, I have to do that. Alexander says, the Bible describes some angels as chariots. Well, kind of. Aliens could be the army of Jesus Christ. Well, in other words, now we're making we're putting a lot of words in there that we might not want to use. It describes angels as chariots. It says he rides the cherubim. He's right. It says there were chariots of fire. It says there were, if you're talking about Ezekiel, there were, the 4 living creatures. Their spirits were in the wheels that were turning. So it's a tough sell versus, is it the angel itself is the chariot, or are they in one or on one? And then aliens could be the army of Jesus Christ. In other words, this is interesting. So, in other words, the faithful angels, right? We know there are lots and lots and lots of angels. Revelation tells us how many are on the throne praising God, especially before the return of Jesus. Everyone's really happy. Could that be what we're seeing? Or when you say aliens, you mean when people see or hear about things, they're actually just describing the faithful angels of God? Usually you hear the opposite, right, Alexander? But I'm open to that. I'm saying we should consider that. Colorado rules. T-Rex agrees. Here's Jeff. So he's looking at the moon and watching jets in the sky. Then white dots appear in the sky and moved about 5 times the speed of the jets. Well, yeah. That's a very common element, isn't it? It's like, I, of course, I ask why in my mind, like, why are you moving like that? Are you showing off? Basically, like, are you flexing? Are you saying, look what I can do compared to your stuff or this other stuff? Watch this. Or is there a purpose in it? Is it you know what I mean? Is it a kid playing with a toy? Is it somebody trying to show how great they are? Or is there some other reason? Maybe to get your attention. Is it that personal, right? It was like a ticker tape. Yeah, that's a good description. If some older folks, maybe you need to be older to know what that is. Ticker tape appeared, moved, and disappeared right above me. Watch for about 2 minutes. That's awesome. All right, have all these. Thanks for sharing, Jeff. You said there were 7 different times you saw things. Are they all like this? If you don't mind, ask. Talking about it. You don't have to. Just curious. Okay, now we're getting interesting. All right, it's been interesting. Have seen orbs many times with witnesses and a skinwalker. Okay, now I know what that means. Certain people might not, like Pod Servant. What's a skinwalker? Okay. So I'm in the mode right now, the past several weeks, of moving from basically dismissing this type of stuff, and it's not important to the church. It's not important to how we serve Jesus, to, wow, this could be a major earth-shaking series of events and years that are coming, and this might be part of it. And so part of this absorbing of this information of, wow, maybe I got to reconsider all this stuff, is this skinwalker phenomenon, whatever you want to call it. I assume it has to do with the, Utah in the Skinwalker Ranch thing. We could talk about that for many episodes, probably. When you say you saw one, like a dog, many times they appear like like a wolf, or like on 2 feet type of thing. Is that what you saw? Again, I'm not dismissing it at all, man. Like, there could be something to that. Now and what is that? Okay, that's more demonic than things in the sky to me. Orbs. Now my interest is very, very honed in on these orb things. Like way up in the sky, or like right next to you, right in front of you. Were they really small? Some people say they're like only baseball size, or what they saw. I've read literature on this where there's testimonies that People have had them pass through their bodies. So, like, it's weird, man. Jeff is correct, Von Servant says, and that folks are reporting many sightings, especially near NORAD. Yeah, NORAD is the North American air defense. Basically, the U.S. and Canada agreed to defend our airspace together, and they do a pretty crappy job, to be honest with you. Because these things are flying around all the time, and they don't bother to look at them, to engage them, to warn people about them. They just kind of hush the whole thing up. Shush, 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 shush. Many definitions of skinwalker. All right, tell me, educate me. I mean, I know some people say it comes from the Native Americans there, the Ute tribe and the Navajo tribe, that whole thing. There's, they talk about curses and basically like witch doctors and people wearing skins of other people or animals. That's my understanding of skinwalkers. I know it sounds really bizarre, guys. Trust me. These poor, these church people are tuning in like, well, I wonder what this is about. And we're hearing this. This is, for some reason, this is all part of things that are happening. Yeah. So that's NORAD. I thought I missed a comment in here, but I don't think I did. Okay. His area has clear skies, very little light contamination. So I believe he's seeing stuff, and he's just south of NORAD, which is where these things are seen. In the south, basically some north. That NORAD's in Colorado, is the headquarters of Colorado. Jeff says, huge fireball in the sky moved down mountainside across from the Arkansas River and flew across the sky and disappeared. Is that like one of the other ones you're talking about, or is that the orb thing? This is crazy stuff. And like, not crazy, sorry. I mean, great. We really have got to default to believing these things now. And again, it's not a belief or unbelief thing. That's really the wrong way to put it. Like I said last podcast week, it says, or a couple ago, it says, don't be a believer or a doubt or a debunker, right? Don't even term it like that. You believe what's true, even if it's hard to believe. The miracles of Jesus were hard to believe. They watched it happen and they couldn't believe it, right? Because our brains have trouble, or if our worldview is changed. Like, I didn't know that was possible. What did I just watch? So you believe in him, right? We believe in the one who can save you, who has the power of God. But again, like, that's the type of thing we're told to watch out for before the return of Jesus, which is signs and wonders, designed to deceive even the very elect. So like, it's the level that we can't even process now of stuff. Maybe this is part of that. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's leading to it, right? We got to be ready. I love the fearlessness of our testimony here from Jeff. Bonter says, when was that, Jeff? I saw a huge fireball last year. Thought it was a meteor. Meteors do look like that. Skinwalker can be a fireball, which is the way a demon can travel when it needs to get somewhere quickly. I need education on that too. And so yeah, we got a lot to go over. This is good. We don't have to figure everything out. Okay. It's just getting it out there and let you know that, this pastor at least is interested. Your brother out here is interested and being motivated by the Spirit to, again, like with everything that we've done with Wings of the Eagle over the years now, over 10 years now, has been to connect the church, has been to facilitate communication, and to give a place where Christians can connect from all over the world. So this particular topic is maybe the next version of that. Okay. The next way we can do that, what God is allowing, us to travel this road. That's good. We shouldn't be afraid of it. Yeah, this is great stuff. All right, before I forget, let me play this video clip. It's already been over 30 minutes. Let me play this video clip from John Brennan. And it's very interesting to me to not only hear the words, but to watch him say it. So if you're only listening to this on your podcasting platform, go find the video, go to wingsoftheeagle.com and or whatever, and find where you can watch what he's about to say. He looks pained or extremely careful with how he's saying things. Now, this is director of the CIA. We know the CIA is not the DIA. I'll talk that in a second. Let's just play this, okay? Check it out. This is John Brennan. He was the CIA director under 3 different presidents and served under 6 different presidents. So he was in the intelligence game a long time. There you go.
I think some of the phenomena we might be seeing continues to be unexplained, and might in fact be some type of phenomenon that is the result of something that we don't yet understand, and that could involve some type of activity that some might say constitutes a different form of life.
But being an agnostic, you don't think it's something supernatural?
Well, supernatural, again, it's in the eye of the beholder. Again, I'm not going to discount things. That's why I'm an agnostic as opposed to an atheist. I just want to leave my mind open as to what something might be, but who knows what these things might be.
That's fascinating to me. Obviously not a believer. He's an atheist, agnostic, mind. And again, he's not in the Defense Intelligence Agency, which has a lot of this covert knowledge or programs, and has more of a view than the regular old CIA would. But it's interesting. He seems like he's aware of a lot more than he's saying. And the question that prompted that reply about the phenomenon was about what the Navy Air Force jets are now experiencing, which had come to light because of the Tic Tac video and that whole expose in 2017. And the government finally admitting that it was actually, this is for real, and we don't know what it is. And the whole process that became the UAP task force, which became Arrow, which is what we're seeing playing out, now with possible further steps of disclosing these things. Hopefully we get there. But so he's saying that yes, it's a phenomenon. That's the term that we're using because nobody is using language. Nobody has the language to call this group of stuff even something so simple as a vehicle or a UFO, a saucer or something like that. It's way more complicated than that. Excuse me. And so referring to what the Navy, the pilot stuff we're seeing, he's just, he doesn't need convincing. He knows they're real, and he knows that they're going to continue. And he says, what did he say? It's going to come out that there's an intelligence behind them that, depending on what your understanding is of life, that it could be another form of life. That's not exactly a clear cut, like, oh yes, it's aliens, okay, or it's some other creature on the earth. It's almost different than that. Something that's alive, but not in the way we understand life. I don't know. And then, so the interviewer there, by the way, that was from a podcast in December of 2020. You should see the date at the bottom there. I tried to put that on. And so he follows up with, well, whatever it is you mean, you just know it's not supernatural. Like when you say another form of life, and he's like, supernatural, then he starts to giggle. Like, well, that's in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? That's very telling too, right? And then he follows up with, well, what the questioner probably meant was like, in the religious sense, supernatural things like God or like angels or like. So Mr. Brennan apparently is not of that mindset of believing in such things, but the implications seem to be that things might seem supernatural when they're just so unbelievable that we can't process it any other way. Then that's what that's when he says the eye of the beholder, like depending on who you're asking, which is way different than just an advanced society or an advanced technology from an alien race from a billion years away that has more evolved stuff than we do, or you know what I'm saying? That's different than saying borderline supernatural. Anyway, very interesting to me. Mind-blowing kind of admission. And you could see the way he was, he was not looking at the camera the whole time, but this hand on the head thing seems like he was just trying to be very careful, and maybe had a bad experience with something. I don't know. Anyway, I thought that was cool. Maybe that was nobody else was interested, but I was. Okay, I'm getting back to comments here that have been conversation's been ongoing, which is cool. Jets from the Air Force Academy, that's in Colorado, as training area, fly overhead several days a week in helicopters from Colorado Springs. So yeah, that's the area where this brother's living. Constant where he is. Okay, T-Rex agrees that Brennan's comments were interesting. Okay, I'm going to get to Jeff's thing, but Bond Servant says, I'm inclined to think there is a breach, if you will, between dimensions. Obviously something, but say, orbs going through solids and fuzzy pictures drives his thinking. I think I'm there with you, Bond Servant. The fuzziness, right, around these things that are flying around, it seems like there's always like a fuzzy edge to them, right? In other words, there's something happening. Is that how they get around, like the propulsion system? A lot of people hypothesize that. Oh, and when people try to take pictures of them, they turn fuzzy. Yeah, in other words, like, so there's again, like, depending on how you're approaching this, or from a physics point of view, you're talking about wormholes, or you're talking about again, traversing different dimensions, in sizes of things. Like, do you have access to a higher dimension? If you can, then you can poke things through to the lower ones. Yeah. But again, it's like, okay, I can process that. like if there's just little things that can get through, but sometimes now we're talking about football field size, right? Crafts and stuff in the air, silently moving across cities, like, and then boom, they're gone. So like, I don't know. Lots of stuff to think about. Breaching skies above me along with military activities. Okay, well, Jeff has seen a bunch, I think is for sure what we can know today. Fireball Skinwalker is supernatural. Again, like supernatural means outside of nature. In other words, like if there's the created world and then God has overarching, he doesn't have to obey any particular laws or whatever other than his own, I guess. And then there's things that if there are, I don't care if you believe in angels or just higher dimensional whatevers. If you're in the second heaven or the third heaven biblically, okay, that's another dimension, or it's been shielded and veiled. It's been veiled from us down here in the first heaven, if you will. So if you were to open that veil up and see or experience things in that higher plane, then you could say it's supernatural, but it's really not. It's just the way things are there, the natural way. And that's clear as mud, probably. Unless they have force field invisible tech, like something like a cloak to make them disappear. Even though basically they're still there. When you see them disappear into the sky, what this would say is they aren't going anywhere. They're just, you can't see them. That's possible also. I think Jeff is articulating well the amount of sightings I'll usually asleep. You're asleep through when they happen. Okay. Okay, I just want to get to one other thing here. Jeff, I want to know why you've reached this conclusion, seriously, and to make sure you're open to correction on this or to rethinking. When you say fallen angel technology shared with U.S. military and others, how do you know they're fallen angels? I mean, how do you know that? Now we know Genesis 6. Believe me, I know. Okay, we understand. We understand the Nephilim. Okay, we understand that they impregnated human women, and out came these things that are kind of half human, giants. That's Bible. Okay, we know that. If we believe Enoch should be scriptural, then we have some more evidence in that these angels who rebelled actually shared technology, if you will, with man, and so that you can connect perhaps. But again, what fallen angels are allowed to leave now? And who says they're fallen? And who says, you know what I mean? There's a lot. We got to connect a lot in there. And I'm not saying something hasn't been shared with people. It seems like there's definitely a program, at least this past couple of months, we're learning that there actually is a program of several SAPs in the United States, at least, and I'm sure in Russia and China and India. But anyways, there is a program to reverse engineer technology that we don't own. Now that's not abnormal. That's not UFO related per se, right? If you find something that another country has or technology that someone invented that you don't have yet, you kind of want to take it apart and make it yours, right? You want to figure out how they did it and make your own versions. That program is real. So what are they getting? And from where, who, basically, right? Now, saying fallen angels are sharing technology is different than we're bringing down things from the sky and studying it. That's different. That means they don't want to be found. They don't want to share it. You're trying, you know what I mean? Like, it's seems like a different story happening there. And for what, to what end? Obviously, we can't replicate it. So it's been a long time now, and we can't replicate it. So what was the point of sharing it? I think the fallen angel stuff is a stretch, honestly. Satan hasn't been cast down, but something is going on. Agree. Now, please, let's keep it scriptural, right, guys? No matter what, we can relate what we've seen, but don't assume, don't assign revelation to what we've seen necessarily, right? Unless you have it, but usually we don't. That's kind of this whole subject is we can't nail it down. So let's not assume that we know what we're seeing. Right? We can't assume. The source, can't assume the source unless you have personal experience in it, right? Unless we have scripture on it. We know Satan is in heaven right now. We know Satan is bound to stay there until he's cast out for the last 3.5 years. Now, those 3.5 years are going to be rough, and it says, and his angels were cast out with him. So that's not the story of the Bible, and prophecy and all is not one of fallen angels visiting the earth before then. Now, I'm willing to, have correction on that, but that's not the narrative in the scripture. There are things above us for sure. Daniel 10. There are principalities that are over nations. Yes, right? We know that. We know there's obviously the Holy Spirit. We know there are evil spirits on the earth. Now that's unholy spirit, a demon, is bound to the earth. He's not in the sky. He's not in the heavens. There is no need for transportation for a demon. He can't go anywhere. He's bound to either inhabit a human body, or it says he's in the dry places seeking some relief. It's just what Jesus said, in the wilderness, in the desert. So like it's an earthbound thing. That's why, again, if you believe Enoch, was the punishment for those creatures. The Nephilim was, you can't come to heaven when you die. You're bound here. Call it Sheol if you want. But the fact is, it's not in the heavenly realms at all. That's right. Those are our guideposts. If we believe the Bible is true and we believe God has said it and he's wrote the scriptures, so then we've always got to stay in there with the understanding that we don't get it all and that things are going to happen that might freak us out, but let's not jump to conclusions unless we know this is that. We could point to the scripture and say, this is that. Revelation 12 hasn't happened yet. Yeah, I know. I recommend that you study with End Time Church and get my book, Flee to the Mountains. I have a part of a chapter in here that goes through Revelation 12, and we know that it hasn't happened yet. At least up to the last 7 years, part of it, obviously. With some of it has, the child being born and being taken up to God before the dragon could destroy, right? That whole thing that happened. But the war in heaven part hasn't. And Satan being cast with his angels has not happened yet. I agree completely. So that's what should give us pause to think, oh, well, it must be Satan and the angels is what we're seeing with this UFO stuff. I can't go there. You can't make a scriptural case for that, in my view. Bondservant says, with the uptick in nuclear war stuff and UFOs hanging over military is interesting. Yeah, it is interesting. And there is a ton of incidents where it seems like whatever the UAP stuff is, and the intelligence behind it is, at least this version of it, is very, very interested. And it will shut down silos, and it will turn off nukes, and it will turn off airplanes, and it will turn off systems on airplanes for whatever reason. Again, is it flexing, or is there some greater purpose in it? T-Rex, can any of us be corrected, quote unquote corrected, when it comes to our best guesses on something that's mysterious? I hear you. Like no harm, no foul about being wrong. We're just talking about super effervescent events. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I hear you. If it's not like scriptural thing that you could be corrected on, if it's just on, it's mysterious and it's mysterious. It's kind of like no, not one way or the other. When I say that, I mean like, if you're convinced, if someone is convinced that UFOs are demonic, I want to see, where do you get that? Like correct my thinking. I think we got to be more open than that, right? We talked about that before, and may end up being that, at least partially, or somehow, some way. But just to assuming is bad with this stuff. Bondservant, follow me here. You mentioned principalities. Yes. Could the watchers be at war with each other? Yes. You Daniel chapter 10. Is it possible? Yeah. Daniel chapter 10, for sure, you can look at and say, well, there's principality over Javan, and there's a principality over Persia, and they're fighting each other. And God's angels are not part of that. They're in the middle of it, literally. They got to get through that to come to Daniel, for example, right? So, yes, yes. They're like Jesus said, if Satan casts out Satan, his kingdom's going to fall. Well, guess what? His kingdom is going to fall. So maybe there are several factions. And how many are there? Right? And again, I don't mean to keep hawking on Enoch here, but there's only a small amount. What was there? 200, I think it was. That sin but they're locked away now. So how many more are we talking about? If principalities, I believe there's only 70. To correspond to the nations in Genesis 10. And that's not worldwide, if we're being honest. Has anyone seen Mike Heiser's Aliens and Demons? I read the books, both of them. One was called Alien. No, whoa, lie, back up. Angels and Demons, right? I've read those two books. There's Aliens and Demons, like a show. I mean, a film, like on YouTube. I agree about being open. Yeah. We're there. Reason orbs, for example, can go through solids, etc. Why is that? Explain. Heiser, Dr. Michael Heiser, who's now passed away and gone home to the Lord. By the way, that's the only thing that matters. Okay, with all this stuff, are you saved? Are we born again? Do we have the Holy Spirit? Are we preaching the gospel? Are we getting the good news out to someone else who's perishing? Heiser went to a lot of UFO conventions. You always wanted to as well. T-Rex is saying, wish I had done so while he was alive. Yeah, I'd like to meet up with him. Yeah, that would have been fun. But yes, and Mike, Brother Heiser's, quote on this is, again, let's wrap this up today. His quote on this was kind of my motivation for doing these shows now about this topic. And I want to get the quote accurately, so I'm pulling it up. Dr. Heiser, he observed that many who have adopted, it's not a quote, I guess. He observed that many who have adopted alternative worldviews were formerly traditional theists, or people who believe in God, and Christians who left the faith when their questions on difficult passages and topics went unanswered, or when spiritual leaders failed to address the experience they had had. He has an active ministry to people whose worldview is molded by occult, paranormal, and esoteric beliefs. So, again, obviously those are not as if the Bible is incorporating, false belief systems, but that just because you have a more alternate view of certain things, a weirdness, doesn't mean it's not biblical, right? There's a lot of weird stuff in the Bible. That was Heiser's basic point about all that he did, is that there's a lot of stuff that we Westerners hate talking about. We can't explain. We don't. This Genesis 6 thing is just the beginning, right? And this the whole divine council view, the Elohim and the principalities and all that stuff. That whole side of the ancient Hebrew, or at least what you would call the Second Temple, period of when the prophets were written, and then when Jesus was walking the earth with us. That period of Jews had this supernatural groundwork already. They didn't need to be told it. They already knew it was true. And when I say supernatural, again, like weirdness, like this the more weird part of the Bible as well, maybe that's kind of the stuff we're seeing, or many of us like to talk about it, or maybe we've experienced something that's the only way we can relate it. But it's still, we believe, we're Christians through and through. We're not heretics. We just know something else is up here and something's weird, and we want to be able to talk about it in a Christian church setting. Well, here we are. All right. I'm not saying it's the only solution or the only venue, but it's a venue. Nice chatting with you, Jeff. Thanks, man. Very, very awesome input and way to be transparent, man. May Yahovah bless you and keep you indeed. Okay. All right, guys. Great times. We'll be back again soon, I'm sure, Lord willing. So keep it up. Again, please utilize, I'll show you one more time. Go to unsealedpodcast.com. The bottom of the episodes, you'll see this form. What is your UFO experience? Again, it may change over the, I can show it, would be nice. It could change or, get massaged over the weeks and as we go forward to best serve you and, get the information to connect. And that's the main part of all this. Okay. So share it. You're not going to be ridiculed or whatever. You're not going to be kicked out of the church. So submit it there, or see you next time. And of course, there is a church, by the way, called endtime.church that you are welcome to not only attend on Monday nights, but be a member of, because we have membership. and Bond Servant's one of them, and T-Rex is one of them. And we just love you all so very much. Let's be the body of Christ. Let's never shy away from spiritual battles. Let's never shy away from the love of Jesus in the face of intense hatred and ridicule. That's kind of what he has in store for us. Amen. All right. So until next time, for Unsealed, Christopher Manti, see you next time, and tell someone about it. Share this. God bless you all.
To hear previous episodes, to obtain resources, and to support this ministry, visit unsealedpodcast.com.
Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. But he who stands firm to the end will be saved.